That's kind of leads me to my next question is like, as far as the, your process, like what is your artistic process? Like, do you have a muse? Like how are you creating music generally? Like what do you draw inspiration from other than from, people that have made music before that you like? Is there anything else?
Oh yeah, everything. I just I feel like you can write a song about anything. It's like some jalapeno Cheetos here. You, you could write a song about how delicious Cheetos are. If you just sat down and decided you wanted to do that. And I think films, film music. I remember making home movies when I was younger, and still, I've always done that. But like, I would take scores from other films. Like, I really was into Danny Elfman music and James Newton Howard, and
Mm-hmm.
I would take these scores from films I liked and apply them to my shitty home movies, and suddenly they seemed like these amazing productions, and it was just the music. I was shooting everything on a little cheap camcorder, but I was blown away at how music suddenly changed the entire feeling of it. And, sound for sound's sake is a great starting point. I remember I spent a lot of years growing up on Maui, and there would be these birds outside my window every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the most psychedelic riffs you could ever imagine. Like, especially there's this native bird, the apapane bird. And I just look it up on YouTube, because I couldn't even try to recreate it, but I would try to play their riffs on the guitar, or like figure out how to recreate those patterns. They sound like freaky synthesizers, and that Remain in Light record, that Bernie Worrell stuff, and that's. I remember when I heard that, I like Born Under Punches. I was like, oh wow, that's kind of like what I was trying to do. It almost sounded like they kind of tapped into that, mimicking the sounds of nature. Nature's really inspiring. I've been into Mongolian Tuvan throat singing music,
Wait,
groups like Hun Kur 2 lately.
really?
I love how just the whole sort of genesis of that type of music was mimicking sounds of nature, whether it was the wind or like tigers and frogs or whatever. And there's something so psychedelic about that, that I really appreciate. Psychedelics have always inspired my songs. That altered state of consciousness, and tapping into creativity and drawing it back in, and the visions or sonic ideas or whatever it gifts me in those moments. I've always tried to kind of draw from that space and create a tangible representation of it in music or painting or animation or whatever. It's like, I feel like the more open we are to inspiration, the more it shows itself to us.
I would definitely agree with that. When you've taken psychedelics, I've done it, and there's been a few times, and I'm not musically inclined at all, but I've heard music that I've never heard. When that happens to you, are you immediately like trying to riff and take that back into this space? Or, I mean, because it's happened to coincidentally the same friend that introduced me to you, is we've done a lot of psychedelics together, and we both heard music, and he would just leave, go to his room and start, strumming. Whereas I can't do anything. I'm just like, man, I wish I could, this is the best song I've ever heard. How can I recreate it? Like, well, so what do you do? How do you capture that? I'm sure you can't get them all, but
yeah, you gotta catch them all. You just try, and you suck at it for a long time, but you have to do it,
Yeah.
and I think that's really the only thing that, people, I think everyone is inherently creative, and some people just are faster learners, I guess, so they're quicker at maybe developing skills. But I think if everyone, spent enough time trying to manifest those ideas, eventually they could, it's like, I think that's the only difference between people who are considered artists and everyone else. It's like, I've always just had this obsession and this insatiable drive to make stuff and to like create those sounds I hear in my head. And I am not always successful, but I also love the process of trying to do it, because sometimes you discover other things while trying to create the thing in your head that you're like, oh, that's actually a lot cooler than what I heard in my head. Things sound different when you hear them externally than when you hear them intrinsically. And if you're really lucky, you can get exactly what you hear in your head. But I think that it's just trying to do that over and over again and sucking at it and failing and failing and failing, but loving the process so much. It's like eventually you get pretty good at it. You're like more confident in like, oh, I hear this thing in my head. I know how to create that in real life. But it's just a matter of doing it so much that one day you realize, oh, I don't suck at this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah.
You've got to be addicted to it, and you'll go insane if you don't create it. That's how I feel about it. I'll go insane if I don't do it.
Well, you're a very high creative person, right? You create a lot of things. You're more than just a musician. It's my understanding that you also do film. You also, all the album work is things that you've created as well, correct?
The album work,
yeah.
The artwork?
Yeah, the artwork, yeah.
Yeah. I when I first started recording my own music, actually, my sort of mission was to try and make music that sounds to me the way that my artwork looks, if that makes sense.
It does.
I was like, look at a piece of my artwork, and it, that in itself sometimes would make me hear sounds and music, and I'd want to create that to like complement this work. But yeah, it really goes beyond all of that too. I love working with my hands and creating things, even if it's working on my house, cleaning the roof with a blower, or building a fence, or whatever it is, building a table out of wood that I found on the land. I love learning new skills and then trying to do it and put my own thing on it. YouTube's great for that.
Yeah.
Learning new skills.
It is. That's one of the perks of it, right? There's always someone that's found a short, like my, I have a smoker, it broke down. And sure enough, went on YouTube, found the exact, I was like, man, this is great,
Great. They'll show you step by step how to fix it.
Oh, the cooking videos on YouTube as well, bro.
Oh yeah.
It's been a game changer for me. So
I think also out of necessity too, of like not really like wanting to say, make a music video to accompany the song that I made, or wanting to record this song or whatever. It's like I spent so long teaching myself how to use GarageBand or iMovie, and then, Final Cut and Logic and Pro Tools, and, starting from scratch, just kind of using whatever I had around and making that work, because I didn't have the patience, or I just didn't want to have to explain my ideas to other people. And, and I actually really loved collaborating at the same time, but I also there's something about being able to do as much as possible in-house,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't look like a Hollywood production. It's got a character to it that it just kind of becomes your aesthetic or your sound after a while of just doing it so much, and just, wanting to learn how to do it yourself so you can just do it and not have to call up a bunch of people to do it for you.
But it also, you're like you said, it becomes more authentically you. It becomes it's then again part of the process, right? So you're trying to develop a closed loop system, right? In your art, which I think is fascinating, and not a lot of people do that. It makes you more original, right? So I love it.
That's yeah. And there's also the aspect of it that, when I was real young, that, I wasn't even thinking about music so much. I wanted to make films. I wanted to direct films and, be an animator, and I was really into filmmaking. And it was just like with music, where it's like I learned the drums, and then I learned how to play the bass, and then I learned how to record, just because it was just me and my brother and figuring it out, and someone had to do it. I'm the guy learning the program, and, knowing all that stuff and having kind of gone through that journey of all of these roles in the band, eventually finding myself like, fronting the band. I know how to communicate ideas and relate to everyone else in the band better, because I've been the bass player, I've been the drummer, I've been the engineer, I've been the producer, so I understand where they're coming from, and it just makes the process quicker and easier and more fluid. Same with like a movie set, it's like, if you want to be a director, how are you going to direct the actors or the PA or whoever it is if you've never done that job? It's like you got to work your way up through all these things, so that if you're the guy leading the way, you know what to tell everyone in their language that they understand, to realize the vision. It's not even about you. It's just like, here's this idea, and it's my job to if I can't realize it myself, to describe it as accurately as possible for you, in a way that you can understand it, so that you can, bring your thing to it while realizing the vision.